What's up, Tiki Team? Welcome to the channel. My name's Spesh, helping you conquer the Horde, and today we're going over the best weapons in every single category inside of Black Ops Cold War Zombies. We just recently received our very last SMG for the game, the Lapa, and we are getting one more weapon, the Hammer and Sickle, for the life cycle of Black Ops Cold War before Vanguard comes out. Meaning that if Call of Duty decides to not add any more weapons, this is going to be the most up-to-date list there is for the best weapons inside of Black Ops Cold War Zombies for each category. First and foremost, we're going to be starting with the launchers, and there are so many to choose from, but I have to end up going with the RPG, slightly beating out the Sigma. Honestly, I think both are pretty decent in zombies, especially now with PhD, but the RPG does have more firepower and is faster than the Sigma. Speaking of PhD, the best special in the game is going to be the M79. If you watched one of the recent videos on the channel about high rounds for dummies, then you probably saw the M79 is probably the most overpowered weapon in the game. Don't get me wrong, I like the Shadow Hunter, Ballistic Knife, and Nail Gun, but the M79 absolutely takes the cake. As long as you have PhD slider, this thing is perfect for as high a round as you want to go to. Next, we're moving over to the sniper rifles, and this one was a little difficult. I was stuck between either the Swiss K or the M82, but in the end, I'm actually going with the M82. Now, obviously, the M82 is the fastest shooting sniper rifle we have in the game, and unfortunately, sniper rifles really suck in this game. There's absolutely no bullet penetration. It is nothing like Black Ops 3 with the Draken. Can you just imagine if we had the M82 as basically the Draken from Black Ops 3? My goodness. But unfortunately, that is not the case. But I'm still going with the M82 as the best sniper rifle simply because of how fast it shoots. It does have the second worst firepower in the game compared to the Swiss K, but it also has the fastest fire rate, so pick your poison. After that, we're going to be moving over to shotguns, and I'm actually kind of bummed out at the amount of shotguns we got in this game. Don't get me wrong, shotguns in multiplayer are a pain in the butt, but in zombies they're super fun, and the Howler and the Gallo were two of the best guns in the game when Cold War Zombies came out. But with that being said, I'm going to be going with the Street Sweeper. Now, the Street Sweeper is the only full auto shotgun that we have, and it is super powerful and amazing for taking down bosses. The only problem with the Street Sweeper is how long it takes to reload this stupid thing. But with the addition of Mule Kick adding ammo to your weapon that is stowed, you can just shoot all of your ammo inside of the Street Sweeper like I do in this clip, and then stow it, and then when you pull it back out, it's going to be fully reloaded. Again, all the shotguns in this game are really good, but I am going with the Street Sweeper as taking the cake. Next, let's move on to the light machine guns, and for this one, I am going with the MG82. Again, this was kind of tough because there haven't been any really good light machine guns in the game. The Stoner was really good at the start of the year, but I believe it did get nerfed a little bit, which was a huge shame. So now I'm going with the MG82. I think the MG82 more or less just feels like the most balanced LMG in the game in terms of ammo and firepower, and it just so happens that it was also the last LMG added to the game as well. Now let's move on over to tactical rifles, and this one actually might surprise some people. A lot of people are going to be going with the M16, but I'm actually going to be going with the Carve 2. Now, the Carve has more ammo and speed than the M16, but the M16 definitely has more firepower and accuracy. Both weapons do turn into a 6-round burst when you pack-a-punch them, but I honestly don't know what it is. I feel like the Carve 2 doesn't have as much kick when you're using it. I could be totally wrong here, but when I have used the Carve 2, I have liked it a heck of a lot more than I have the M16. Both are neck and neck, and honestly, you can't go wrong with either one. Moving on over to submachine guns. Now, this is the class in the game that has the most weapons inside of it. There are so many different ones to choose from here, but I am going to be going with the OTS-9. Again, the OTS-9 just feels so balanced inside of zombies, and the ammo is definitely its biggest hindrance. But when you're using Ring of Fire with this thing, it absolutely tears through the zombies due to its incredibly fast fire rate, and it just seems really balanced overall as a gun. Don't get me wrong, the Tech 9 was close, and so was the PPSH. Honestly, I think all three are really great choices. Don't pick the Lapa, that thing's awful. But I think the other three are really great choices, but I'm going with the OTS-9. Moving on over to assault rifles, I'm actually going to be going with the FARA, the FARA. I know the FFAR is really good, but the FARA just hits different. It's definitely stronger than the FFAR, The speed's a little bit slower and the accuracy is, I think, a little bit better. But honestly, something about the Pharah just feels really good. It feels super strong and you can take this thing up to pretty high rounds inside of your game. Now, similar to the SMGs, you really can't go wrong with either the Pharah or the FFAR, so pick your poison. Now, with just a few classes left, we're going to go over to the pistols for right now. And honestly, I know people really like the Diamatis, but I think that the AMPs are better than the Diamatis. And the only reason I think that is because if you're using the AMP, you can just hold down the triggers instead of having to kind of burst fire it like you do with the Diamatis. Again here, dealer's choice, but I really like just being able to hold down the AMPs and absolutely destroy whatever enemy that I'm looking at. Whereas the Diamatis, you actually kind of need to focus on how much ammo you have, and your fingers are going to get tired after quite a long game. Now let's move along to the melee class, and really, this is the wild card here, because it's possible that the hammer and sickle are better than our #1 weapon here, but for right now, I'm going to be going with the E-tool. The size were really close and the size are super fun to use, but I think their damage fall off is just too early in the game. The E-tool is all around just a super fun weapon to use. It doesn't have the lunge like you do with the Sai. Now don't get me wrong, I do really like the Sai, and that's honestly what I start the game with more often than not. But depending on what happens with the hammer and sickle, I believe the E-tool will remain the king. And finally, we have the wonder weapons here. We have 5 wonder weapons to choose from, and really it comes down to the ray gun or the Cerberus. Don't get me wrong, the Crystal Axe is really good, but I'm gonna have to go with the base Cerberus. Treyarch did not miss when adding this inside of Mauer Tote, and I really wish that they would add this thing onto Outbreak just for fun. The game's over, why not? But the Cerberus is probably the single most fun weapon to use inside of the game, simply because it is so gosh darn overpowered. And then when you add the ability for it to turn into 3 different weapons as well, you have 4 variants for the Cerberus. Honestly, in my opinion, the Cerberus might be one of the best wonder weapons we have ever received. Let me know what I left out on my list. Your guys' secret code word for this video is potato. Leave it in the comments if you made it this far. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. I want to give a big shout out to all the channel members over on the channel, and an extra special shout out to all of the Zombie Richtofen members, starting off with hashtag BestMod, Strict Archer, the quippest man in the Southern Hemisphere, Commander_Quip, and the man, the myth, the legend, Tiz Brandon, ZR.